Welcome to Career Tipper Podcast, hosted by Michelle Beatty. The Career Tipper Podcast is a motivational resource that shares career and entrepreneurial tips by industry experts that will help amazing people evolve to their professional best. And now your host, Michelle Beatty.
Episode 27 of the Career Tipper Podcast features Sable B. Sable is the creator of the professional development organization Real Brown Girls. Over 35,000 women of color and girls of color are a part of the online community. She has over 10 years of experience and expertise with facilitating healthy and provocative dialogue that conjures up movement. Sable has conducted career readiness focused workshops, networking events, and partners with brands. In November of 2017, Sable began Working While Brown, a conversation series to facilitate dialogue important to women of color and their respective fields. She is going to share why it's important for each woman and girl in her organization reach to create her career by intent. I'm your host, Michelle Beatty, professional development author and coach. Sable, welcome to Career Tipper Podcast.
Hi, Michelle. Thanks for having me. How are you?
I am so good, and I'm tickled about this interview because I know you're going to share some great information. So before we get into any of that, what was your journey to launching Real Brown Girls?
You know, that's a very good question, and I'm sure my response is not similar to other people. I had no intention of launching anything, but one day, Real Brown Girls, I just heard that while sitting in my living room, and I couldn't shake those three words. So I was like, okay, obviously I'm supposed to do something with this. At that point in time, I didn't really participate social media, online, LinkedIn, none of those things. But I asked a friend, help me start this Instagram profile. I don't know what I'm doing. And when I started initially, it was beautiful pictures. It was a curated profile, but it just wasn't things that I'm naturally into, be it fashion and beauty. And I realized that the thing that I'm into the most is professional development and making sure people have the tools that they need to be successful in whatever field that they go into or want to go into. And it kind of pivoted and took off ever since then.
Love it. Now, what does evolving to your next level of professional best mean to you?
When I hear the word evolution, I think of change and I think of growth. So if someone told me that they were interested in getting to their next level, or if someone asked me, I think it's more so like, you know, taking a step back, looking at the big picture, looking at your end goal and figuring out what steps do you have to take to get there. So For me, it's more of a pragmatic plan for that evolution than, you know, a really sexy quote, I should say.
I hear you. Now, many know that you have been very intentional about your career moves from the classroom to now program manager and also being the founder of Real Brown Girls. From your perspective, what actions and areas should women mindfully be intentional about when they're pursuing and being consistent, you know, with when it comes to their careers?
I think it's important to really take a step back and figure out what it is that you want to do professionally. What type of lifestyle do you want to have? What type of house do you want to own? Do you want to own a home? Do you want a home and a vacation home? You know, what do you want your life to look like? Because I think that often will help navigate career moves, career fields, career interests. So it's never a one-size-fits-all answer. So I think that when it comes to being intentional about career moves, you really have to think about what type of life do you want to have? What does that look like for you? What does that sound like for you? And making decisions from that angle.
No, I totally get it. And what I love about your platform is that it's not restricted to one location. You have traveled the country getting Real Brown Girls to connect to their career intent. Do you have any success stories or aha moments that you cherish or have received yourself from helping people be intentional with their careers?
I think some of the I wouldn't call it necessarily a success story, but I would say that a lot of the feedback that I've gotten is just the idea about being able to connect with other women in other fields as adults. A lot of us know once you leave that college campus, if you got to the college campus in the first place, that's like the last time where friendships and connections are laid out for you. You just have to make the introduction. Once you enter the professional world, it's a different story. You really have to be proactive about it. There's not 30 people or 100 people in the classroom with you. So I think what I would consider a success, but maybe not someone else, is the idea of being able to bridge the gap between women of different ages and being able to bridge the gap between women of different fields who otherwise wouldn't be able to connect with each other and network with each other and grow with each other.
I totally love that. Now, Sable, you've also created like some resources from facilitating your workshops and just working with the women. What are some of those things?
So I have different resources online. There's a workbook about just being your own accountability partner. A lot of people are always saying, I need an accountability partner. I need an accountability partner. Although I would never disagree, at some point you have to be accountable to yourself. So there's a workbook for that. There's one for, steps to take to be prepared for that salary negotiation conversation. Just it lays out like research, going on different websites, figuring out the average salary based on your area, years of experience, amount of education, etc. So there's those type of tools that are online. As far as different workshops that I've done in person, a lot of it has centered around goal setting, because what a lot of us don't realize is there's a common thread, no matter the age or the industry or the location of an individual. If you don't possess the ability to create a plan for your goal, you're not going to reach success however you define it.
Perfect. Now, when it comes to career navigation, we both know that gives so many lessons. What are a few foundational factors that women should keep in mind as they pursue their definition of career success?
I think the biggest thing is that should be like yelled from the highest mountain peak in the world is one size does not fit all. And I think we know that naturally and we know that internally. However, if you are part of this social media world that has essentially taken over, when you're constantly bombarded with different images and different women who are portraying different definitions and portrayals of success, if you don't check in with yourself, you might start to internalize her definition to be your definition, and then you'll have some internal conflict there. So I think one of the foundational factors is to constantly check in with yourself, but to remind yourself that one size truly does not fit all, not in clothing and not in careers.
That's so true, because when you are planning your career by intent, you have to remove comparison.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Now, Sable, what professional development strategy do you practice that keeps your career mindset strong and committed to mastering your intentional career path? Because you're making some major moves, like you're making connections, you're building in a community, you're always listening to what your audience needs. I love following you on social media because you're always doing the pulse checks, getting them to talk to you and things of that nature, and then you come out with something for them. So how do you keep your mindset strong to be able to take care of yourself mentally, but also encourage others to stretch mentally as well?
Well, I think part of my strategy is, one, I'm always reading something that is new. I'm always reading something that I already know how to do, but maybe I could pick up on a tool or strategy or a tip that will help me be more efficient. I'm always listening. I'm always asking questions. When there's different webinars online from people in the same field, so in my 9-to-5, it's education-based. Well, in my, I guess we'll say my 5-to-9 for the sake of the podcast, it's still education, it's still very much education-based to me. So I'm always reading and webinars. I go to different workshops where I'm the person in the audience and I get to ask the questions. So just trying to make sure that I'm abreast of what's new, what's old, because we're always getting rid of something. We're always bringing something new in. There's new jargon that you need to know. So it's just kind of making sure that I'm not falling behind and getting complacent. And I think a lot of us do that when we're good at something. It's like, oh, well, I can do that in my sleep. It's like, yes, maybe you can, but that doesn't mean you can't do it in your sleep better. So just constantly new information. And I think one thing to point out, because we are surrounded by information, is I do a very good job of knowing what to use and what to not bother with. Because if you try to digest all of it, it becomes very overwhelming. So it's having the ability to say, aha, this is what I came here for. This might have been a 2-hour workshop, but that was the sentence that I need, that I can leave and walk away and do something new with, or make something better, versus, oh my God, how am I going to flip everything I've always done this way to make it fit this person's style? So I think that one of my strategies is I know my strengths, I know my weaknesses, and I know how to take something of someone else and either use it the way I can, what's the word I'm looking for? The way I can use it, or just to leave it alone.
Superb. I love it. I love it, because it's just, you got it. It's like a buffet. You got to know what you want. So I love that. And I love how you teach people to do that. So I think that's awesome. So thank you for that. Career pathing, let's talk about that a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's definitely a continued work in progress for so many people.
Oh, yeah.
So what are a few things goal getters should keep in mind when determining the right industry and position for them, novice or seasoned professional?
You know, that's a really good question. And I don't think I have the standard answer. So I think that when we talk about career pathing and right industry and right position, I think that in this day and age, when you don't stay at the same company for 30 years and retire like previous generations did, we somehow, and I'm speaking generally, I don't like to make assumptions for everyone listening, but somehow we've taken that to say that, you know, you have to have 25 jobs and you can't be at a company for more than this amount of time. I think that it's important that we draw a real clear T-chart. This is the teacher coming out of me. What industry do you want to build a career in? And what is just a hobby? I think we've kind of had a spin somewhere where just because we're interested in something means that we have to make a career out of it. And I always scream, that's not true. You can be interested in something and you can volunteer in that industry. That does not mean that that's where your career is supposed to be. So a lot of time when it comes to career pathing, a lot of it is looking inward and really having conversations with yourself, conversations with people around you, taking a poll, sending people a few questions, like, you know, I'm just trying to figure some things out. What do you see that are my strengths? What do you see that are my interests? Because sometimes people see something in you that you don't see in yourself. But to really sit back and go, what is it that I want to do that I would do for free, or I don't mind doing at 11 p.m. I wouldn't mind doing at 5 a.m. I wouldn't mind doing it on Christmas. Like, what is it that I want to do? And then to me, that's where the exploration begins. Because I tell people I'm interested in so many things. The list is ridiculous, Michelle, but I'm not committed to turning those interests into a career. There's a difference.
It is a difference. And I love that you start off with that being the determining factor, because the cluelessness is real. But as a professional development advocate, that's the beginning of the winding road to determining what career is going to look for you, because it's going to be a long-term commitment. And
Exactly.
You don't want to fall off like year 3. Oh, well, you know,
like, I don't really like this. And it's like, did you really like it to begin with? And you're like, I thought it was really cool, or I thought I was interested. And it's like, there's interest and there's commitment. Like, where do you see yourself with the follow through? Like, you can't go to sleep if this doesn't finish, not because the reports do, but because you really, really care and are into it, versus like, oh, screw this, I'll try again in the morning. Like, there's a difference. And I think a lot of us we don't really sit back to look and analyze where that difference lies for us individually.
Okay, so how does that apply to wanting to make a career transition or secure a promotion?
When it comes to transitions, I always ask people, even with promotions, like, what's your motivation? What's your why? And I think even with career pathing, it's like, what is your why? What is motivating you? It doesn't have to be a singular answer. You can have multiple answers. But I think that it's important to understand your why before making certain moves to make sure you're making that move, A, for the right reason, and B, if things don't turn out the way you expected it to, when your why is strong enough, you'll keep going versus quitting and giving up. So when it comes to transitions, it's, why do you want to transition? Is it just transitioning from one organization or one company to another? Or is it transitioning from one industry to another? You can transition from one industry to another, but still kind of be in the same field. So it's the why. What is it that you're trying to achieve? And the why. So you have the what and the why. When it comes to securing a promotion, I always ask, why do you want a promotion? A lot of times, naturally, money is part of the equation. I 100% understand that, especially when salaries are stagnant across the board. But the cost of living has not remained stagnant at all. There's multiple graph charts to show this. So I ask the why as well. But another reason why I ask the why as far as promotions go is because I have found that a lot of individuals are considering the extra, $500 or $700 they might get per month via their checks, but they're not taking into consideration that a lot of times with promotion comes teams and people you're responsible for and leadership things. So if that's not part of your career trajectory that you imagine for yourself, you might not want that particular promotion. You might just want a raise. So when it comes to transitions and promotions, just like everything else, I always believe it's important to take a step back and ask yourself some questions. What's the motivation behind this? Why do you want to do this? What exactly do you want? And what does that look like, to make sure the steps that you plan to take align with your end goal?
I am totally in support of that. Okay, so soft skills. That is something that I think is often dismissed sometimes as as not always important, but you can talk to managers and they might feel a little different, or entrepreneurs. So how can soft skills it often can be a game changer or a deal breaker in many workplaces. So what are a few specific soft skills that professionals should keep in mind, in constant rotation of development?
Michelle, I just wish that I could just take this piece and put it on billboards across the country. We have, I don't know, I know there's someone in some PhD program somewhere studying this, and I can't wait to read their dissertation. I feel like as a whole, remember, I'm generally speaking, that a lot of us and too many of us have abandoned soft skills. We have mastered and digested and understood the importance of the hard skills, the certifications, the degrees, the this, the that, but we've neglected to nurture our soft skills. And the reason they're so important, because a lot of times that's the difference between the job offer and not. It's the difference between the promotion or not. It's the difference between the contract opportunities. It's still soft skills. And when I talk to a lot of women who are smart, they are way smarter than me, okay? I will never pretend I'm the smartest person in the room. No. They are intelligent, they're swift, but the soft skills were missing. And I could tell that just from a conversation. And if I had to highlight a few that I think people should just have on their mind, you don't have to drive yourself crazy about it, but to have on your mind. And sometimes, I can use soft skills synonymously with manners. It's not always the same thing, but for the sake of conversation, email etiquette is a soft skill, in my humble opinion. How we approach people and how we communicate via email is very much a soft skill. Like, you don't put email writing or email reading on your resume. That's just not, it's not an official skill set, a hard skill. So I would put that under the category of soft skills. And how you come across in writing in the professional world is very, very important. You might not be writing essays the way you were in high school and college, but it is an important skill. I would say conversation, the ability and the art of having a conversation in a professional environment, be it in the office or be it after work hours, but in a networking professional setting. That is a serious soft skill that a lot of people are missing. You know, what topics to stay away from and what topics are considered safe, and safe in the sense of you are not going to offend anyone in the room at that particular moment in time. So I would put those two at the very, very top of my list. There are others, but those are the two that I think in an everyday setting. So you're at work, well, depending on the industry, we're just going to say anywhere between 35 to 60 hours a week. You're emailing a lot and you are having a lot of conversations. Those are definitely things people, they're remembering and they're taking little notes.
I'm taking notes. I'm taking notes too. So what is your stance about more professional development advocates working together to help others accomplish their career goals?
I think everyone needs to work together. I don't understand why there's this underlying attitude or feel in some spaces that people in the same field, whether they are entrepreneurs or not, can't work together. I think that when two people come together and they have the same end goal in mind, they're bringing together different strengths. They're bringing together a variety of different experiences, and it has the ability to make the content that's being created or being facilitated that much stronger, which then means that whoever is in that audience is going to get so much more, which then means that whatever piece was missing to their puzzle, they're more likely to get because there were two people or three people or what have you, making sure that every angle was hit. As a former high school teacher and now a program director in the nonprofit world, I am all for working together as a team. Like, not group project style in college when everyone in the group, you couldn't choose your group and everyone in the group didn't pull their weight. Like, we're not talking about that. But when people really, really are aligned and in tuned, it makes things that much stronger. And it means that whoever is there to receive the information, it makes them that much stronger as well. And even the simple idea of Q&A, whether it's online or in person, there's always Q&A. That student A asks a question and I can answer. It's going to be a good answer. Michelle can answer. It's also going to be a good answer. It's going to be a different answer. Between the two of us, that student got what he or she needed. And I think that's the importance of working together. It's not about the people that are putting on the workshop or what have you. It's about the persons who are sitting there to receive the information. If they get what they need, the more the merrier for me.
Well, I must say I am honored for the invite to partner with you on your most recent course, Her Career by Intent. So please share what sparked your desire to create this resource.
So, man, time is flying. Maybe 3 months ago at this point, I put up a very simple post on Instagram simply asking, name 2 things that you wish you would have learned via professional development at work. Something along those lines. Don't quote the quote. Don't quote the post. It is on there though. And the outpour of things people wish they would have learned in the beginning of their career. And then the continuance of folks who said, excuse me, ma'am, I wish I still need to know this, or I'm still trying to learn this, an entire light bulb went off that, oh, okay. So just because you've been in your career 5, 6, 7, 10, 15 years doesn't mean that you still have all the tools that you need in your tool belt. And as someone who's a teacher by nature, I want to give people the tools that they need in their tool belt. So her career by intent is literally the response to all of the women who listed out what they wish they would have learned in the beginning, and all of the women who courageously listed out what they wished they had the ability to learn now if the information was provided for them.
I love it because it's so important, and that's why I'm so excited to join you with having created this course, because I too talk to a lot of professionals that are career changers, or hindsight is 2020.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't know. I wish I knew this then, or I didn't know this. And I'm like, knowledge is key. And I enjoy sharing information, and I love seeing women win. I love seeing everyone win, but it's just a little more like, yes, when I see someone, a woman accomplish her career goals. And when we get to talking, it's always swapping up information. So
yeah,
I'm like, did you know this? I'm reading this. And, I just love it. I love our conversations. I love our dialogue. And it's always an up-level conversation every time. So I'm so excited to share this knowledge with your audience, my audience, and help them accomplish their next level of professional best. I think it's going to be awesome. And those that join it, I think they're going to get some amazing outcomes from participating.
I'm excited to have you. I'm excited that you are willing to work with me.
Yes, ma'am. Well, let's share the easy to implement strategies and tips that the participants will receive on how to create their career by intent.
So we are going to talk all things salary, promotion, and just understanding the timeline surrounding that. We're going to talk about, networking and getting to the next level. We're going to talk about a lot of things, and we're going to dive deep. So it's not going to be anything like, oh, you know how there's a webinar and you sign on and you're like, I already knew this. We're trying to go deeper for everyone, because we recognize, like, we've experienced those same frustrations. So it's topics that you've heard before, but it's really going above and beyond and providing, the downloadable PDFs and things of that nature. So you can always have that information with you, and you can always refer back to it.
Yes, indeedy. Yes, indeed. Now, Sable, I appreciate you being a guest on the Career Tipper podcast, and I look forward to continuing the professional development chat with you, because we're going to chat some more next week. We're going to talk about career change now or later. So
Yes.
It's going to be a good one. So before you leave, please share your favorite quote or affirmation that keeps you creating career tipping moments.
I learned this quote, I believe it was in 4th grade, and it has always stuck with me. And it's simply, if you don't stand for something, you will fall for anything.
Virtual high five.
I'm high-fiving you back.
I'm like, yes. So please share how listeners can get in touch with you and sign up for the course, Her Career by Intent.
If you go to realbrowngirls.teachable.com, you will see the course right there and ready for you.
Love it. And how can they find you?
You can, for all social media that I'm on, and I am not on every platform, it is simply at Real Brown Girls for Twitter, Instagram, / for Facebook, and the website is realbrowngirls.com.
Yes, and you can find me, Michelle Beatty, at careertipper.com, and on Instagram and Facebook at Career Tipper, and Twitter at Career Tipper1. Please subscribe and follow the podcast on iTunes, Spotify, and Stitcher Radio. If you enjoyed this episode and listened to the podcast, please leave us a 5-star review on iTunes. And next week, we look forward to continuing this dialogue with Sable B. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of the Career Tipper podcast. We're grateful for our listeners and guests. For more resources about how to evolve to your professional best, share your comments and feedback about this episode and your suggestions for future guests, visit careertipper.com. Until next time, be confidently you.